GameStop has finally done it, guys. They have decided to join the game and buy Bitcoin, which is awesome. GameStop has been struggling over the past decade. We know that retail has taken a hit with the advent of e-commerce and everyone just doing everything online now, especially when it comes to gaming. We're seeing people just download their games online. They're not really going into GameStop stores. And GameStop kind of needed to make a move, right? They were kind of forced into a corner. And I think this is a great move for them to start stacking Bitcoin. They've had an interesting run over the past 10 years. We all remember in 2020 and 2021, around that time, when all these retail traders and this retail community pushed up the price of GameStop stock super high and basically caused a lot of damage to all these hedge funds that were shorting the company, and now they're buying Bitcoin. So this company is a survivor. We're going to talk about why GameStop decided to buy Bitcoin, what it means for GameStop, and also what it means for Bitcoin adoption and the market at large. Before I do get into it, please make sure to like the video and also subscribe to the YouTube. Really appreciate your support. I'm also going to put a QR code down below for a Bitcoin tip. So if you want to support the channel, feel free to leave me a little tip. Now let's get into it. So GameStop has decided to take the leap. We've been hearing rumors and murmurs that Michael Saylor and Ryan Cohen, the head of GameStop, have been meeting and talking about the idea of potentially buying Bitcoin for the company. And now we've got confirmation that this is happening. GameStop will be buying Bitcoin. They haven't specified exactly how much Bitcoin they will be buying. While this news may not be a big price mover, GameStop does have $4.7 billion in cash, according to the latest data I've seen. And if they decided to put $1 billion worth of that cash, maybe $2 billion worth into Bitcoin, that could definitely have an impact on the Bitcoin price. We also got news that GameStop is going to be issuing $1.3 billion in convertible debt, and that convertible debt is going to be at a 0% interest rate. So they're following after strategy and starting to issue debt to buy Bitcoin. And who knows how aggressive they could get with that strategy. If we go ahead and take a look at a chart here, this shows GameStop's stock performance over the past month. And as you can see, around March 25th, the day after we got the announcement, actually March 26th, GameStop shot up. GameStop had a day. People were buying the news and the stock was up 12%. However, on the following day, I believe the day we got the news about this convertible debt, March 27th, we saw GameStop's stock fall down 23%. So the thing about this strategy is GameStop's stock performance now is going to be somewhat dependent on Bitcoin. If we see a rise in the Bitcoin price, we're probably going to see GameStop's stock rise. If we see the Bitcoin price falling, that's probably going to lead to GameStop's price falling as well. So we will just see how the strategy works out for GameStop, but for every other company that has decided to buy into Bitcoin and start stacking Bitcoin, it has proved to be a good decision, and I think that will be the same case here for GameStop. Now let's get into why this is a great move for GameStop. To put it bluntly, GameStop is a failing business. There's no secret about it. And we know that the whole retail sector has really struggled. We recently got news that a popular retailer, Forever 21, filed for bankruptcy. And we're seeing a lot of these retailers who were successful, in the early 2000s now filing for bankruptcy and realizing that there may just not be a place for them in this new digital internet world. And when we look at GameStop, what is their business? They are a video game store. And anybody who plays video games knows that nowadays you just download your video games on your console, right? I have an Xbox, and if I want to buy NBA 2K or something, I just download it. So it makes you think, is there really any demand for a retail gaming store? And I really think there isn't. If we look at some numbers for GameStop over the past decade, it really illustrates how the company has been declining. In 2015, the revenue was 9.3 billion, pretty good. But if we look at 2020, the revenue dropped to around 6.47 billion. And then if we look at the fiscal year for 2025, it's all the way down at 3.82 billion. So over the years, over the past decade, the revenue has really been declining. For the 2025 fiscal year, the revenue was down 27.5% year over year. And over the past decade, they've only had 2 profitable years, and most years they've taken a pretty big net loss. We've also seen that GameStop has closed a ton of stores. A decade ago, GameStop had around 6,000 stores globally, and now in 2025, as of the latest data I've seen, they have 3,203 stores globally. I've also seen that they are going to be closing more stores in 2025 and 2026. And that's because this is a failing business. There just isn't demand for a retail gaming store. And if people really want to go buy their game physically, if they really want to go to a store, they can just go to a place like Walmart or Target or Best Buy. So there's even competition in this dying retail game market. So I think that GameStop decided to start buying Bitcoin because they needed to make a move. They've been backed into a corner. Their business is failing and they need to do something to extend the lifetime of the company. And I think this is a great first step for them, holding the best monetary asset out there. When we look at some of the companies who have had success with buying Bitcoin, like Metaplanet and Strategy, it's not like these companies were super successful when they started doing this. Metaplanet is a company in Japan that manages one hotel, and by just aggressively acquiring Bitcoin, they have outperformed every other company in Japan over the past year. If we look at Strategy, this was a company that was just selling business intelligence software, not bringing in a ton of revenue, and I'm sure that Michael Saylor was probably feeling similar to how Ryan Cohen, the head of GameStop, is feeling right now. He was probably feeling like, hey, I need to do something here because our business is failing, we are not growing, and I need to do something to mix things up. And look at what we've seen with Strategy over the past 5 years. It's been one of the top 2 performing companies. I think Nvidia has maybe outperformed them. I'm not 100% sure, but over the past year, I believe Strategy is the best performing company in the US stock market. So we've seen that this strategy of issuing debt to buy Bitcoin really works, and I think that it could work for GameStop, at least in the short term. And I think that GameStop is probably getting into the game at a good time. We've seen all the bullish news over the past 6 months with this new administration, with the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, with banks now being able to custody Bitcoin pretty soon. I think that we could see Bitcoin appreciate a lot over the next year. And if GameStop can acquire some Bitcoin now at a price of $80,000, I think they are going to be looking good. I think the main impact we are going to see from GameStop deciding to buy Bitcoin is that it's going to set an example for these other companies. Companies are going to be watching how this strategy plays out for GameStop, and I think it's going to play out pretty well. I think it's going to play out the same way it's played out for these other companies who have decided to buy Bitcoin. And once more companies kind of see that this strategy works, more companies will come into the Bitcoin space, they'll start stacking, and things will just kind of snowball. And when we think about it, every company and every entity is really incentivized to hold Bitcoin, and it's just a matter of time before these companies realize that they want to hold Bitcoin, the better money. Really awesome news for GameStop. This company is proven to be a survivor, and it will be interesting to see if GameStop can survive and transition into some different type of business. We will have to see. That's going to wrap it up for this video. If you didn't like and subscribe, please make sure to do that now. Thanks for watching. I'll be back soon.